Welcome into King Whale's album review party. Today I feel
Good stuff.
especially good because we have a very special guest with us, and that is my cousin-in-law, because yes, cousin-in-law, Caleb is here on the podcast with us today. Why don't you say hello to everybody, Caleb?
Howdy, howdy.
How's
Just
it
Caleb,
going?
that's it.
And of course, we still have Ty. Say hello to the people.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be back as always.
Of course, of course. And it's so good that you guys get to meet each other because we haven't actually met. You haven't met each other in real life, so we're meeting on the podcast. The virtual world is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm
It's cool.
Hmm.
I've watched some of the past ones. I haven't finished all of them, but I watched some of them and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like their perspectives.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and
Yes.
totally understand. We can talk for a very long time based upon the topic. So I think the last one we did, what was it, 2 hours when we were talking about Kendrick and Drake last time?
They all end up, we always tell each other that, oh, this is just going to be like a quick, like 30-minute episode. Like, we'll be good and then we'll be
Just gonna
out.
knock it
And
out.
we're like, great. Yeah, I have an important thing to do after that. And then
Yeah.
it turns into 3 hours. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to reschedule.
My wife's like, "You're gonna eat dinner at some point, you're gonna go to sleep at some point.
Nope.
But that's the beauty
No.
of music.
I'm glad
However,
we can have you on, Caleb, for a fresh perspective.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And who knows? Maybe we'll be able to make this a regular thing. Hopefully, we'll
Yeah,
see.
that'd be cool. I'd be down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we are crowning because it seems like after 2 weeks, we didn't want to crown anyone in the last two episodes because we were like, maybe they'll keep going back and forth. But it's been
Mhm.
about 2 weeks since the last track, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit over that or
Mhm.
something like that. It
Mhm.
appears like the beef has ended, and it feels
Mhm.
like now is an appropriate time to crown a winner. And I don't know if we want to all just like say it on three or give our individual perspectives, but I'll let you guys go first. Who do you think? We'll start with Caleb. Who do you think won the beef and why?
Kendrick. I mean, I feel like is it a question? Is it a question? Here's the thing. I feel like one, Kendrick he decimated him. He
Yeah.
decimated Drake. He started off with he started off with not like a no, he didn't. Not Like Us is the most recent.
Mhm.
What did he start with? What was the first one?
Euphoria, I
Like
believe.
That.
Well,
No,
yeah, like
Like That
that
when he was
kicked
on
it
that
off.
other
That.
Yeah.
song.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
then past Like That, Drake, he tried. I feel like he tried. Euphoria was great. I loved it. Um, then, like you said, the second to last song, Meet the Grams, he was just calling people out.
He was
I
on
mean,
one.
Yeah.
here's the thing.
Hmm.
I feel like Kendrick started off strong. He pretty much said first round, he was like, "We're not like you're not like me." Second, he was like, "Oh, you don't want the smoke," and he's like, "Plus, I hate you." And then he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna holler out and I'm gonna call out everything then."
I
And then
hate
he
you.
wrapped it up with Not Like Us, where he called them out on everything he feels like is wrong with OVO, all of the partners, all the people involved in his production company, his company. Um, but on top of that, he made it go hard. And
Hmm.
I feel like
Yes.
that's just disrespectful. Like,
Yes.
I mean, when it goes so hard, like that beat, he had mustard and everything. It was just the
It's like
fact
he
that
buried him and then was dancing on the grave
It's
afterwards.
cruel. It's cruel for
exactly.
sure.
Plus, he didn't put on he's not exercising the right of his copyright or something like that, which allows it to
hmm
spread even more. So of course people are going to react to it. Of course people are going to talk to it because now that means they can put his music, his sound on there and they can get a check from it.
Hmm.
So I feel like he's made so much calculated moves at this point that's just he's got the whole world blasting a diss on Drake. And don't even get me started with BBL Drizzy.
BBL
Like
Drizzy.
Uh, I think you make
Nope.
such an excellent point. Because I was looking it up the other day. Because one of the first disses that Drake used was like, Kendrick, you're not in a big three because Savage and Travis Scott both got you wiped down. And it's true. If you went on Spotify top artists at the
yeah.
beginning of this beef, Kendrick was like number 38, and Travis Scott was like number 12 or 13, and 21 Savage was I think actually 21. So like there was people that weren't even being talked about that were more popular than Kendrick, basically. Guess where Kendrick is on the Spotify charts right now? Ty and I already talked about it.
I bet you he's number one right now. Tell me I'm wrong.
He's the number one rapper if you don't
Okay.
consider Drake to be a rapper. Like he's literally surpassed because Drake is number 6 and Kendrick is number 12. But there's no other rappers in between them. He's passed Travis Scott, 21 Savage, all based upon this diss and Not Like Us. So it's like Drake's number one, like his number one diss. Kendrick just blew it up because now Kendrick has blown up to, and the only person he's less than is I think SZA's at 11, and that's who Drake called out as higher than him. But SZA's not a rapper, so I don't even know why Drake mentioned her or tried to bring her into this. So it's like
Right.
to me, it's
Yeah,
like
why didn't
he
he say
just
like Ed Sheeran's got you wiped down, Bad Bunny's got you wiped
you
down?
might
Like,
as
why
well say
not?
that.
Like, yeah,
Dua Lipa's got you wiped down.
yeah.
Hey man,
Taylor Swift got you wiped
Taylor's
down.
got you wiped
exactly.
down. Yeah.
So it's like not only did Kendrick win, like from a just a technical rap perspective, but he beat him on the commercial level too because he did everything Drake said that he wasn't. And it's so Ty, your official opinion, who won and why?
Yeah, if my name didn't spell it out, Drake is absolutely the victor. I think, or Kendrick, I'm sorry.
We got what you meant.
Yeah, no, Kendrick totally won this. And I think he did it not just I think he did it because he outplayed Drake. Like
Mhm.
he spelled it out for us at the beginning of Euphoria. You're so predict I can even predict your angle. And then he
Yup.
consistently proved that throughout the diss. Every
Yup.
time Drake took a shot, regardless of how well Drake may have done in that moment. Because I still think Family Matters was still a good, like a decent in any other rap diss. I think that was a decent response. Kendrick just outplayed him there,
Mhm.
dropping Meet the Grams and then Not Like Us right after. There's no room to breathe. And then Drake, especially by the Heart Part 6, like there were some cool like mind games there with the title. Like I liked that like that psychological play there. It just didn't matter. He wasn't hungry for it by that point. It's like he didn't care to win. He just wanted to cut his losses at
Yeah, he's
a
like, oh,
pretty big loss.
he's like, guys,
Uh,
rapping is really hard. I didn't realize it was this difficult to sustain a rap battle. Kendrick is really mean. I'm just gonna
I love
goodbye.
I love all the like Instagram shorts and TikToks that I've seen of the very like the end of that track where Drake is kind of monologuing of like, yeah, this was a good like pen exercise, and people are dressed up like all bloodied and bruised.
Yeah, beat
They're
up.
like, oh, this was a pretty good pen exercise. It's good to stretch it out, and
Yeah. So what would you say is the moment in this beef that you feel like Drake lost? Because I feel like I had different moments along, but now I feel like I can pinpoint it to one moment where Drake just lost completely. But what do you
the
guys
heart
think
the heart part 6. Like I
by
think
that final diss
when
track?
he, by the because I think he could have tried harder to respond to some very serious things that Kendrick is calling out in his track. As fun it is to dance on, like I would not feel comfortable being called that like in a
No.
diss, and I would fight harder to disprove that. Or if you set him up with like psychological mind games, I'd have you day one with receipts for everything that I did so I can show you the evidence of, ha, I got you to believe I had a hidden
Fake
daughter or
daughter or whatever.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't feel like he cared.
I
Mm-mm.
I feel like he failed exactly what he said at the Heart Part 6. I feel like at the beginning, Drake, he had so many disses lined up and definitely tried to go in strong, but the Heart Part 6 is just at that point, it didn't feel like a diss. It felt
Mm-mm.
like he was trying to defend himself the whole
Mhm.
song, and he wasn't on the offense anymore. He was strictly on the defense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like especially like you said, everything that Kendrick called out and said about him. He's like, you're a pedophile. Everybody on OVO is pedophiles. Um,
Yeah.
uh, and 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 Drake's response was, "No, I'm not." Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, he's talking about like, "Oh, I've got so much dirt on you too." Well, where is it? He
Mhm.
said he aired it out. He aired that dirty laundry. Now it's your turn, and he's just he apparently has all this dirt, all this information on Kendrick, and where is it? All he said was, "Oh, that's not true. It's fake news."
Mhm.
And then
Prove it.
my favorite part is when he says, "No, I'm not a pedophile. I don't like people like Millie Bobby Brown." I'm like, "No one said any names, bro."
No one said Billy Bobby Brown, man.
I'm
No one
like,
was throwing out names.
"Are you thinking about Millie Bobby Brown?
Yeah.
Did you? Like, bruh?"
Why did you bring it up?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that moment in the spy movie where someone's like, I never told you their name, and it like reveals like the whole secret of like everything that's been like going down. Like that was that
Right.
moment right there. Like, I never told you, I never said her name, but
Yeah,
Right.
thanks for making my
exactly.
point.
Yeah, the whole diss was an elaborate ploy by like the CIA or something to try to
Yeah.
get to to try to get to Drake.
And Ty and I talked about this a little bit because, like, I know I prefer rap battles that are kind of more just about like rap battle skills and don't necessarily go into the personal life all that deep. But it kind of had to when you take this angle. And like the way I look at it, I was like, where did the point where Drake like went wrong? And like, obviously, the Heart Part 6 was ended up being him just kind of like waving the white flag. But I think to me, the moment where Drake messed up the most, I would say, is on Tailor Made. I
Hmm.
think the beef, like I don't know if Kendrick still would have went the angle that he went with, but on Tailor Made, Drake pretends to be Tupac and tells Kendrick to diss him about the young girls that he's been talking to. And
Mhm.
like those were Drake's lines, pretending to be Tupac. So Drake basically said, "Hey man, you can call me a pedophile." And then on Part 6 was like, "Why are you calling me a pedophile, man? No, I would have been arrested if I was like that." And it's like you literally told him to do that. And then he did
Mhm.
it. And
Then he
then
did
now
it.
it's like to me, like that's where, and again, I don't know if Kendrick would have went with that angle anyway, had Drake not like tried to egg him on like that. But to me,
Right.
it makes the entire it was just like looking back, it was like I think we were still like, oh wow, 50 because push-ups was a pretty good diss. I was vibing with it, and I was like, I want to hear Kendrick's response. This was good. And Taylor
Yeah.
Made was like, okay, you don't really have to. Again, Drake, like, I feel like Drake tried to make the beef happen too quickly. And Drake wasn't ready for it. Like he was like, "Hey Kendrick, come on, give me a response." And then Kendrick responded, and then Drake like put out Family Matters, which wasn't bad, but like I feel like you could kind of tell like he had to switch to the defensive because he wasn't really prepared for a response, and now he had to respond quickly because he told Kendrick to respond quickly, and it's like the whole thing. I feel like Drake, I think Drake just wanted to like try to get in quick and like knock Kendrick out, but it's like that's not how it's gonna work because
Mhm.
and it just ended up kind of pushing the whole beef along. And the thing is, Drake had some good like it's not like he didn't have ammo. Like he could have used a lot of things, like the fact that Kendrick went up to number 12. Drake kind of referenced it on Family Matters and was like, you might as well hand me the loot because you're getting popular because of this diss. But like he should have like really dug in on that. Like all your success right now, you owe to me. Like even after
Mhm.
Not Like Us, he could have said that's a bop. Yeah, it's because you're talking about me. It wouldn't be like
Mhm.
that if you were trying to diss J. Cole with Not Like Us. It wouldn't be up
Mhm.
there. It wouldn't matter if you were
Mhm.
dissing Savage. It's only because you're dissing Drake, the
Mhm.
Drake, me. And like he
Hmm.
could have stolen all of that, kept going for it. But instead, because he told Kendrick to diss him about the young girls, he spent all his time on the heart trying to defend himself because he's like, oh, are people actually thinking that I'm a pedophile? Oh, I got to change that now. And it's like, again, to me, if he didn't, again, I don't know if Kendrick would have went that angle either way, but because Drake egged him onto it and now like seems so surprised that he was on the defensive when he had so many better disses to go with to bring Kendrick down. I think I even saw on Instagram someone like posted a reel about like how you can tell that Drake didn't really read music because like when Kendrick had that one hilarious line where he's like trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor, and like obviously a lot of musicians get that and understand it. And you don't even have to be a musician to get that line. It's just hilarious. And then Drake was like, "Yeah, you gotta B sharp to see what I was doing, and otherwise you D flat." And it's like, okay, but none of those notes that he was mentioning have anything to do with like the A minor chord. So it's like
Mhm.
it just kind of felt like Drake was trying to like copy Kendrick's lyricism, but he wasn't actually doing anything clever with it because he was like, it felt like he was just asking like, I'm not going to say his ghostwriters, but it felt like he was asking his ghostwriters like, hey guys, are there any other words in chords that like kind of make a lyrical thing? And they're like, I guess there's B sharp or D flat. And he was like, oh, okay, cool, I'll use that. And
Mhm.
someone brought up like a huge point of like he could have used because in the A minor scale, the third note is a C. And C sharp, if you play a C sharp, that's what takes it from an A minor chord to an A major chord. And he could have, and it's the third, it's two steps ahead of A minor. So Drake could have had a whole line about being two steps ahead of Kendrick by knowing exactly what he was going to do, especially with that, fake daughter thing that he didn't really go into. And he could have
Mhm.
used that against him because by saying, you got a C sharp to see what I'm doing because I'm two steps ahead, he would have literally taken what Kendrick said, turned it on his own, flipped it, made it major instead of minor because a C
Right.
sharp makes that chord. Like he would have, but he didn't have time to think about it. He just, and again, I don't even know if this kind of idea would ever cross Drake's head, but like
Mhm.
an Instagrammer shouldn't, if an has a better line on how you could have responded for your
Yeah.
beef, that's not a good sign if you're trying to stake your claim as the greatest rapper, as the best rapper in the game.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing, and that's what I feel like is such a huge difference between Drake and Kendrick in general.
Mm-hmm.
Drake, he's very intelligent and he's very talented in the sense that I mean he's been on top of like this sort of like R&B, hip hop, pop uh music. He's been on top for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Mhm.
very clever when it comes to business. He's
Mm-hmm.
very intelligent. However, Kendrick, he's lyrically talented. He's extremely talented. And that's why I think that he actually kind of wasn't he wasn't going to win against Drake to begin with because we're talking about like you're talking about right here. You talk about A sharp, C, or A minor, all these chords, you know what I mean, and how he could have used them with double meanings, double entendres, the
Right.
depth to it, and that is something that Kendrick excels at. All of his music, and that's, I mean, partially what's making most of his discs so amazing.
Mhm.
Uh, like, for example, in Not Like Us, he says, uh, calling amber lamps. Like even the fact that he says that, he's referencing Amber as an Amber Alert to the pedophile concept and an ambulance to come and get the person. Those layered meanings and just each time you listen to it, when you read the lyrics and you find deeper, deeper meaning, he can't do that as well.
That's what it feels like. It feels like he literally can't. And like at the end of Taylor Made, he's like, Kendrick, you better have a quadruple entendre. And then Kendrick came back with a quadruple entendre.
Like,
And it's
okay,
like, okay,
bet.
Drake, now it's your turn. Where's your quadruple entendre? And he's like,
Mhm.
B sharp. And it's
Yeah.
like you're not on that level. You're just not.
I think for me, Drake, just from like their public perceptions, Drake has never felt like he has really cared to be that kind of rapper. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's always felt like he's wanted to be an entertainer. And that's where I think like the Michael Jackson-esque comparisons all came from, because it wasn't just the music that Michael Jackson put out and its influence, but it was the fact that he was such a good showman. And I think Drake is a really great showman, and I think that's where all of his effort has been placed. I think Kendrick cares more about the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick, like from everything that I, as just someone with access to the internet and his music, can tell, he just cares about rap, and not just rap, but the effects of it. Like it feels like he's invested into people's response to rap. He's invested in shaping rap culture.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's like he lives and breathes it. Just from, from an outsider's perspective. Drake, it doesn't feel like his life is rap. It feels like his life is fame. And
Hmm.
that goes back to like the core that we always talk about of commercial success versus say critical success. And I think that this really came to a head because I don't think Drake could outfame his way to victory in this
In a
beat,
rap battle. Yeah.
because I
Mm.
think Kendrick hit him in such personal points that really knock his like fame levels down and his public perception down, because Drake always has to appear palatable to the masses. And throwing out calls out like he did, calling him a pedophile, is like the like chess move level maneuver to make everybody just universally hate you for a second,
Yeah.
whether it sticks with criminality and legal measures or not. Regardless, like that's the move to take down what you care about, that public perception.
Not to mention, like, if you remove all the teenage girls from Drake's fan base, he's not number 6 anymore. He is
Mhm.
Mm.
dropping all the way down. So,
Mhm.
like, and again, for Kendrick's disses, not only did he hit Drake in like a core, because like you could argue, yeah, I think teenage girls, that whole like demographic, Kendrick probably hasn't really tapped into that demographic, and he's never really tried to. But by calling Drake that, like, he literally, if that starts to affect it, Drake will plummet. He will
Mhm.
plummet down the charts. And as for Kendrick, again, if this was a battle of fame, that's the best part. Because like if this was a battle of rap and fame, like
Mhm.
how good are you as a rapper, and how popular are you? How famous are you? How much money do you have?
Mhm.
To me, Kendrick won both because he beat him on the rap area, and
Mhm.
Mm.
everyone that Drake bragged about that Kendrick is less popular than, Kendrick has surpassed because he's number 12. And actually, I was gonna, when we get a sec after we kind of go through this, I was gonna tell you guys who the other top 10 artists are on Spotify, because you
Mm.
can't like look at a list. I had to like go through and research and find every single one.
Mhm.
And it's a pretty interesting list. But yeah,
I
basically
have.
Kendrick won from both angles. And it's like that was Drake's only angle, the fame thing, and he
Mhm.
lost on that one too.
Mm. And I was kind of thinking, like, as we're talking about, Drake and how he's an amazing entertainer, right? How
Hmm.
that's something he's really good at, he excels at, and that's how he's, like you said, maintained to be on top. Sorry. Ugh, I'm getting over a cold. But
Understandable.
um, he's on top, he's a great entertainer. However, rap is a different genre of music in itself. I mean,
Mhm.
there's tons of genre of music. You can dabble in all this, but the culture of hip hop is just it's so different. Like your lyrics, not only do they have to have depth, but plenty of rappers, they stand by their lyrics. Like Kendrick, he's coming from like an actor turned entertainer. Whereas when you think about rap and hip hop and stuff like that, half these things that half these rappers are saying, they've done.
They've
50
gone, yeah,
Cent has bullet wounds. He has a
yeah.
bullet in
Mhm.
his
He has
tongue,
shot
you know?
somebody,
Yeah.
yeah, or something like that, yeah.
Exactly. Um, the baby did kill someone in a Walmart. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Like, and that's not, I'm not saying that's good, but a lot of the things that happen in rap is it's very hardcore, it's bravado, it's um kind of also being about the streets, about that street life, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
Drake isn't from the streets. He
Right.
Right.
isn't about that street life. He's an
And
entertainer.
and there's still room
Right.
for rap that's not necessarily like from the streets. The whole thing is authenticity. Like Lupe Fiasco, he's actually from the streets, but most of his lyrics aren't really about the streets because his parents kind of kept him out of that lifestyle. And you can tell
Mhm.
based upon his lyrics, but he still has his place in hip hop because he knows who he is, what he's done, and he speaks from an authentic place. He's like, I'm not going to go start talking about my street cred because that's not the life I lived. Like for Drake, it makes no sense for him to have songs about like what we do on the streets because like you haven't lived that. And there are lots of rappers that haven't, and they talk about what they've been through. Like Childish
Mhm.
Gambino is another one.
Mhm.
He wasn't really raised like he was from the projects, but again, not the same level as 50 Cent or like the really like
Mm-hmm.
those guys.
Mhm.
And so it's all about authenticity. And I think like, and Kendrick even mentioned is like, and Ty and I were talking about a little bit like each rapper, there's a lot of rappers that have things that they're really good at. Like my personal favorite, I know a lot of people say the best lyricist is Kendrick. Understand? My personal favorite lyricist is Lupe. Right? To
Mhm.
me, the rapper with the most success has got to be Jay-Z. Because like no one would be anywhere where they are without Jay-Z's success and what he's done. And I would say like the artist with I think Kendrick is most in tune to the culture of hip hop out of any other rapper. And to me, the rapper who talks about relationships the best, or the one who talks about relationships and I can identify with most or relate to most, is Drake. Like if I want to hear a hip hop love song, I'm gonna go look for Drake. Like that's to me, like, and when you look at 90% of the albums on the Spotify, on the Apple Music top albums, most of the albums are all about love. Now, hip hop isn't only about love, but like people that like hip hop, they also like love. So it's like if you want to talk about that, like From Time by Drake, Take Care by Drake, those are all fantastic songs. Even Poetic Justice. I thought Drake's verse on Poetic Justice was better than Kendrick's because I thought it was a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more. I felt like I understood it more. I feel like that's Drake's niche. But he also, I feel like, wants to come across as like this tough rapper as well. And it's like, you really don't. And I think that's part of why Kendrick was like, I like it when you make those love songs, but like when you try to act tough, it just don't really work. It just don't really work. But, and again, I don't think Drake wants to be known as like the love rapper because he thinks that's going to make him seem soft or whatever. But like to me, that's what I would say is his niche because I don't really listen to Drake to get like turned up. I get to Drake when I'm in my feelings. That's what we do. We listen to Drake when we're in our feelings. And so he's a
Mhm.
different kind of rapper. And it's like we talk about bringing like a sword to a gunfight. This is like Drake brought like a little toy Nerf sword to like a tank because Kendrick is that kind of rapper and Drake is not.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that came later in his career. The trying to act harder than he may be. Because like Thank Me Later wasn't that hard
No.
to
And
me. You know,
Fireworks was
so
a
far
great
go.
album. Sorry, go ahead.
But like it to me, it started with like if you're reading this, it's too late. Or, what a time to be alive. Or, getting like the further along he got in his career, it felt like again he wanted to do whatever it took to be famous, to be number one on streaming charts, to live up that life more than it felt he's striving for some authenticity in his music.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think there's criticisms to both parties, but I think for Drake, I think Kendrick really nailed him in that be your authentic self. Like
Yeah.
I like you when I like Drake when he's singing melodies. I don't like Drake when he acts tough. Like be you, man. Just stop trying to take what other people's life experiences are and use it for your own benefit.
And
And one
again,
thing,
yeah, go ahead.
no, you good.
I was gonna say, like, there's also an argument to be made that, an artist shouldn't have to be boxed in. You should be able to make art that resonates with you. And so if you want to make, like, I know I kind of wasn't thrilled with like Travis Scott's album being like number 97 on the top 100. But Drake, if you want to grab Future and you want to go make a trap album about a bunch of stuff that you don't really know about, if that's what you're feeling artistically, sure, you should be able to go do that, right? But that also means that people are going to call it out when it looks unauthentic. So when you're in a rap battle, you got to have the like I feel like that's what exposes what kind of rapper you are because like you might have the if you don't have the stones to go back and forth in a rap battle, it's like do you really have it to be able to make albums like that? Because it makes it look unauthentic from everything you did. It just looks like you're copying because like when the spotlight shifted to you and it's like, okay, now you need to be this person that you've pretended to be, you can't do it.
Hmm.
So
And
that's
I
why it looks
feel like,
unauthentic.
well, I mean, going along with that thought, I feel like, and I feel like that's kind of what Kendrick's trying to point out and has pointed out about Drake.
Hmm.
Almost kind of, I mean, for lack of a better term, an extremely successful cloud chaser. You know,
Hmm.
like we've talked about, he's really good at the like R&B love, you know, and that's what propelled him to success. That's what makes every 14-year-old girl love him. Um, However, I feel like towards the end of Not Like Us, he sort of points it out, and it's kind of trickled in all the other songs as well, where he's like, I'm what the culture's feeling. And I'm not saying that, you know, all of hip hop culture is like, yes, no, you're a spokesperson. I'm not saying that. However, um, he is trying to, his music is kind of geared towards being a voice for the culture and to elevate the culture. He's not doing it as much for the money as Drake is. Of course, he's doing it for money, but he's definitely trying to be like, okay, how can I elevate the community in a way? Uh, and as a result, he's won Grammys and awards for it, you know? However, Drake, like he points out towards the end of the song, he's like, oh, you only come to Atlanta to do an album with this person so you can make money, this person so you can make money. You're only coming to Atlanta because you're just trying to chase that fame, those riches, and change your persona so that you can continue to be on top.
And you know, that brings up a really good point that I mentioned to Ty a little bit ago too, is like if you ever seen this movie One Night in Miami, it's fantastic. And it has Leslie Odom Jr., Aldous Hodge, Kingsley Benadir, and they're portraying Malcolm X, um, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke in the 60s. And Sam Cooke and Malcolm X have this huge argument because Malcolm X is like, Sam, you should be using your platform to help our people, to liberate Black people everywhere because we're still being oppressed. And Sam Cooke is like, hey, man, I'm making money because white people love to hear me sing. And that's how I'm fighting because I'm getting rich off of their money. They're paying me to sing. And when someone wants to write a song that sounds like one of my songs, that white guy has to pay me to do it. So even if it shoots up the charts, all that money, instead of going to the man, it's coming to me and my guys, my Black guys in our studio who are all making this music and we're all making money off of it, but it's coming from them. Like we're literally getting paid by the man to make them music. And Malcolm X was arguing, and he's like, Sam Cooke was like, you think that I can give all of our people power by using this, by speaking out. But he's like, but if I try to speak out, I'm going to lose all this power because then the white people won't listen to my music and I can't take their money anymore. He's like, I'd rather take their money and reinvest it back into my community because that's working. I don't need to like go and attack them. I can use it to create my own sense of power. And I'm like, it's kind of a similar argument that Drake could have at least explored against Kendrick because Kendrick Lamar, as we know, he makes money from his music, right? But when you look at Kendrick's fan base, who's predominantly Kendrick's fan base? The Black community. When he's selling out arenas, selling out shows, everyone that's coming to his shows are primarily Black people. And so Drake could have argued, like, you say you're out to save them, you're just taking all their money. You're calling me a colonizer. You're making money off of all these people that you're saying that you save.
Mm,
Meanwhile, Drake's music, because it appeals, like you said, to those white 14-year-old girls who asked for daddy's money to go see the Drake concert. And Drake could have argued, like, I'm the one that's taking money from the man and giving it back to our people. And again, that
mm,
it would have at least been a more interesting conversation. Not going to say who's right or like, but it would have been more interesting than, hey man, I'm not a pedophile. I would have been arrested if I was. Like, it would have at least given us something substance to talk about because it's like he has a valid argument and a valid point. Like, again, it's something that could have been explored. And I feel like because Drake was moving up the timeline, trying to make it faster. Because again, like Drake and Kendrick called him a colonizer. It's like, well, what does a colonizer do? They take money from people that really need it, like, and that's an angle that Drake could have used. And again, I don't know if his mind even works in that way, but it's, like I said, I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's kind of on him for speeding up the timeline as to why we didn't end up getting a more interesting beef. Because again, it kind of almost veered into like petty territory, because Not Like Us is still a bop. But again, I kind of blame Drake for that because he's the one that started the pettiness with the Taylor Made song.
When you talked about the colonizer, you said, well, kind of the concept of colonizing is, oh, going to take money. I would like to just kind of expand on that a little bit.
Go
I
ahead,
feel
dog.
like, yeah, I feel like when it comes to like the concept of like colonizing, it's more of the coming to an area, conquering it for yourself, and picking things away from the culture that you want to adopt for yourself, however, not giving credit and using those same cultural aspects that you're using to thrive that you took away from them to also oppress them, almost flipping their
Mhm.
own positive influences back on them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So yeah.
something a feeling that I got from Kendrick's, like, thematically throughout all of his disses was, Drake, you use your blackness when it's convenient for you,
Mm,
to, to sell this harder lifestyle that, number one, isn't you, but you're taking from real experiences of other people. That's why, I think that's where he's going in, like, you're going to Future when you want to find the clubs, you're going to 21 Savage when you want to try to get some street cred, you're going to all these other rappers who have their own life experiences that you are saying that you admire and that you like and that you look up to, yet you're going to them, you're looking for them to try to rub off onto you so that it can make you seem more commercially viable. You're not actually having the experiences.
yeah, just trying to get the black vote, if it was,
Yeah.
quote unquote. So yeah, like I said, I think that would have been an interesting conversation that I would have at least started if I was Drake. But again, we won't know because the beef has officially over. And I didn't really say it officially, but yes, I also believe Kendrick Lamar won. It is very,
Yeah, what a
very
wild turn if you
clear.
say you thought Drake won after all of that.
Surprise! Drake actually won. Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. Before we go on to like because I told you guys about our next segment about what we're gonna do when we're gonna make a super group of four musicians. It could be musicians or artists that we think would make an incredible album, band, or live performance. But before we do that, do you guys want to know who the top 10, top 12 Spotify artists are? Because some of them are a
Yeah.
little surprising.
Lay it
Okay,
on him.
Yeah.
so I think you know who number one is. Number one.
Dua Lipa.
Close, but think a lot wider, like way wider.
Taylor Swift.
Yes,
Oh yeah. Fair.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Taylor Swift.
And number two is a little surprising. I don't know if you know this one, Ty. Can you guess it, Caleb? I think Ty already knows.
Let me think.
Oh,
I'll give you a
I
hint. He was involved in the beef as well with Drake and
yeah, this
Kendrick.
is
J.
very it
Cole?
is
No, J. Cole wishes he was number two.
that would be
It
hilarious
would be
if
hilarious.
staying out of the beef propelled him
Oh, no,
to
no, no, no.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
exactly.
But
he
he
said,
was
"My bad, I
Drake.
apologize," and then propels to mainstream success.
This guy was prominently featured on Metro Boomin's and Future's I Don't Trust You, either the first one or the second one, but he appeared on like four different tracks. And in
Oh,
fact,
Future.
Drake is the one that put this guy on.
This guy really loves his crew.
And he performed at the Super Bowl
I don't know.
a
It's
couple
Eminem.
years
Like,
back.
The
The
Weekend.
Weekend.
oh,
The
I
Weekend, which
didn't
I
know
didn't,
that.
right? I didn't expect it. He was actually number one before Taylor released her latest album. And I didn't know he had reached like that point where he is the number two artist by a very large margin. I think number 3 changed since last time. Now number 3 is Post Malone, and I think that's partly because he was on Taylor's album, so that might like shift a little
And he's
bit.
got a new, like, he's tapping into the country audience. Like, he's got a new
Yeah,
country album coming out, I
I
think.
with
hate
Morgan
that.
Wallen.
More.
I
To me, I just hate it when people say like, "Oh yeah, Post Malone the rapper." He's not a rapper. He has never rapped a verse in his entire career. He is not. He is a singer. He's a singer. He's a singer. He sings on hip hop songs. That's the only thing I hate. Like Post Malone, do whatever music you want, but
Yeah.
please stop saying he's a rapper.
He's so good on the Spider-Verse soundtracks,
Oh
but it's
yeah,
not rapping.
he's singing.
He's
Well,
singing.
what irritates me, I hate it when musicians start off in. I primarily hate when musicians start off in sort of like a hip hop, R&B, or rap genre, and then once they are propelled to stardom, they're like, okay, now I'm gonna get away from this.
Oh,
Oh, now I'm a rock star. Now I'm a I hate it.
we should have had you on for Cowboy Carter.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Oh, that would have been
Do you
good.
have you listened to it?
I'm not a huge Beyonce fan.
Not a huge Beyonce
Oh,
fan. Oh,
okay.
Caleb said that
I
live.
would
Brave
if
man.
I would listen like if y'all do other reviews or something and hit me up, bro, I will listen to whatever album it is, and
Hmm.
who knows, it might open my mind, you know?
But again, you're an authentic country fan. Like you like country
Yeah.
music,
Hmm.
so I understand what you mean. You know, did you feel any type of way like when Taylor Swift just like left country to go pop and like kind of blew up, or was that like a lot of some country fans felt like betrayed and stuff? Did that have like any effect on you, or was it just kind of like didn't really like her anyway?
I kind of liked her more when she was country.
Hmm.
And Miley Cyrus, I wish she would have stayed country. I wish she never would have veered off. I wish her voice, it's just to me, she has such a good country voice. I think she should have stuck with it,
She
personally.
does, and you should. Okay, if you don't listen to the whole album, she did a song
With
with
Beyonce.
Beyonce
Hmm.
on
Cowboy
Cowboy
Oh,
Carter.
Carter, and it is
okay.
so
Well then,
good.
never
It
mind.
because she taps straight in to like that Tennessee, Kentucky like country
Uh-huh.
style. And it's
Hmm.
so like I'm not a huge country guy, but I was vibing the entire time. It was so
It
good.
was a good track, and I really thought she
You gotta
she
check
made
it
that
out.
track. Yeah. Okay, so number 4 is Ariana Grande. Number
Okay,
5 is Rihanna. And then number
let's go.
6 is the man of the hour, Drake.
Kendrick Lamar. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. I guess not the man of the was the man of the hour. I don't know. I don't think you'll guess who number 7 is because I was kind of surprised by this one too. But she's a very big like dance artist and she's really new, like only came out past 2020.
Oh, wait, I know who this is.
We mentioned her a little bit earlier. You can guess too, Ty, if you know, if you
Jojo Siwa. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
not quite.
Is it someone I've already mentioned?
Yeah. We mentioned her earlier on the podcast.
Is it Dua Lipa?
Yeah, it's Dua Lipa. She's number 7.
I knew she was way up there.
Which I think is quite impressive for someone that again hadn't really been doing music past 2020. Like I think she had a couple of songs before then, but she like all these other artists have been performing since like the early 2010s. So it's pretty impressive that she's up there this high. Number 8 is Justin Bieber.
Checks
Number
out.
9
That's a solid. Mhm.
was kind of unexpected. It's actually David Guetta, the EDM
Oh,
producer.
oh,
Yeah,
Huh.
really?
I didn't realize that he was this big. Yeah, yeah. And number 10, I don't think you'll guess because I was super surprised by it. It's a band, and I guess they've been really big for a long time. Um, I'm trying to think of another hint to give. And they also have performed at the Super Bowl before.
What? Oh,
Rock.
what? Yeah, what
It's like
genre?
it's more of a pop kind of band. Pop.
Oh,
Maroon
Very
Imagine
pop.
5?
Dragons.
Nope.
Oh.
What'd you say, Ty?
Maroon 5?
Nope.
Imagine Dragons, he said.
And like since their Super Bowl performance, I hadn't really heard of anything that they had done. I thought they kind of like trickled off since then, but they are still number 10.
Not a
Coldplay?
clue.
Coldplay.
Oh,
Wow.
huh.
Coldplay is number 10.
Yeah,
And like,
they get a lot, like their old stuff is brought up a
Mm.
lot.
yeah.
Like they don't need to rely on new, like people will pump like Yellow all day long
Yeah.
at whatever the opposite of a club is, the sad club. I don't know, that's a
That's
sad
a
song,
sad
but
club.
Well, it's funny because like I was listening to in the 2015 Super Bowl, most people were like, okay, Beyonce and Bruno Mars killed it. Why was Coldplay even there? Right? Like
Mhm,
like that was the reaction to like the live performance. Because like they were there, but like Beyonce and Bruno Mars like tore it apart.
mhm.
Um, but Coldplay is still bigger than both of them.
I
And they're just chilling there at number 10. And I'm like I haven't heard, I can't think of like a really big single that they've released since that Super Bowl performance, but they're still there, number
But
10. So
they have huge international appeal too. I have a friend
good
who
point.
a few years ago he went to
Mm.
Paris, and he went and he saw Coldplay at Paris, and they sold out one of those gigantic stadiums, and he said like it was one of the most like magical shows he's ever been to, because
Oh,
like
really?
they had a really good light show. Like he was loving it the entire time. And so
Okay.
apparently they put
Yeah.
on a really good show and
All
still
right.
selling out.
I guess
There
so.
you
Like I
go.
would have thought that it would have been Maroon 5 in this spot too. But nope, it is Coldplay. And so number 11, we already know because we reference it. That's SZA, which I didn't realize that she got up that high that quickly because like I didn't like realize how much crossover she has because obviously she's huge in R&B, but usually to get like close to the top 10 you kind of need to do R&B and pop like Ariana Grande and Rihanna. But for SZA to
Mhm.
be here at 11, she doesn't really do a whole lot of pop. At least I don't think that's what she's known for. So for sticking like with that R&B, to be able to get this high while like firmly rooted in R&B is incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course 12 now is Kendrick.
Mhm.
And then the other rappers that are kind of below there, Kanye West is still at 14 somehow.
Wow.
Um, Travis Scott is now number 16, and Eminem is number 19. And Beyonce is not a rapper, but she's 21. So again, Kendrick can literally stake the claim that I am the best rapper in the world. And the facts prove it because Drake is not a rapper. And
According to the Drake metric.
according to, yeah, like if you think Drake is a rapper, then no. But and I think that's literally the most impressive part of this entire beef and why Kendrick is unequivocally the king. So thank you guys so much for joining us as we crowned Kendrick Lamar the official winner with Rap Battle. I know most people probably didn't need this episode to know who won the beef, but you know, it feels good to air it out there and really establish who won. So yeah, we will see you next time. And thank you again, Caleb and Ty, for joining me.
No
As
problem,
always,
man.
take care.